Good afternoon, everyone. I am Janet Limeranya, and together with my groupmates, we will be your reporters for today. And we will going to discuss the chapter 2 of Philippine history. And our topic is all about content and contextual analysis of selected primary sources in Philippine history. Learning objects to familiarize oneself with the primary documents in different historical periods of the Philippines. To learn history through primary sources, to properly interpret primary sources through examining the content and context of the documents, to understand the context behind each selected document. So, the first topic we will discuss is First Voyage Around the World of Magellan by Antonio Figapetta.
Pigafetta's traveling is one of the most important primary sources in the study of the pre-colonial Philippines. So, Pigafetta's work is important not only as a source of information about the voyage itself, but also includes an early Western description of the people and languages of the Philippines. I will give you a short description of Antonio Pigafetta. He was an Italian scholar and explorer. He joined the expedition to the Spice Island led by explorer Ferdinand Magellan. That's why Pigafetta's work is important, because he is one of the explorers traveled with Ferdinand Magellan. The first voyage around the world by Magellan was published after Pigafetta's return to Italy. In Pigafetta's account, their field reached what he called the Landros Island, or the island of Divis. Okay. The first voyage around the world by Magellan was published after Pigafetta's return to Italy. They called it Island of Divis because while they was there, some of the islanders took a small skiff that he had trailing behind one of his ships. They took whatever they want from his ship as a payment for the food and water that had given the crew in 1521. The Landros Island is presently known as Marianas Island. This island is located south-southwest of Japan, west-southwest of Hawaii, north of New Zealand, and east of Philippines. So, Landros Island was called Marianas Island. Marianas Island are shown with the territory of Guam to the extreme south of the Commonwealth of the North, Marianas Island to the north. It is composed of 14 islands in a total. The Portuguese navigator Ferdinand Magellan was the first European to arrive on the Marianas Island when he stopped there briefly in 1521. 10 days after they reached Landros Island, Pigafetta's report that they reached what Pigafetta called the Island of Zamal. Now summer, but Magellan decided to land in another yet better island for greater security, which they called rest for a few days. So, an uninhabited island means an island or is islet that is not permanently populated by humans. They decided to stay there in few days to take a rest. Pigafetta characterized the people as very familiar and friendly, and willingly shown them different island and the name of this island. The fleet went to the Humo Island, and there they found what Pigafetta refers to as the watering place of God, of a good science. It is in the place where Pigafettas were that they found first sign of gold in the island. They named the island with Nervli Island as the archipelago of St. Lazaro. So, remember that Magellan named the island Isla de San Lazaro because he discovered them on the feast of St. Lazaro in 1521. Magellan took the ownership of the island where he had landed in the name of King Charles V, which he had named early in March 16. They left the island on March 25th. Pigafetta recounted that they saw two balagay, a longboat full of people in Mazao that leader who Pigafetta refers to as the king of the Balanghay, sent his men to the ship of Magellan. So, balagay or balanghay is a type of lashed log boat built by joining planks edge to edge using pins, dowels, and feather lashing. They are found throughout of the Philippines and were used largely as trading ship up until the colonial era. It is also spelled out as barangay.
When the king of Balanghay or Balangay offered to give Magellan a bar of gold and a chest of ginger, Magellan declined. Based on the first bullet, Magellan declined or rejected the kindness of king when he offered him a gold and a ginger. Bakit nga ba hindi ito tinanggap ni Magellan? Magellan sent an interpreter to the king and asked for money for the needs of his ships and expressed that he came into this island as a friend and not as an enemy. Imbis na tanggapin ni Magellan ang offer ng hari na ginto at ginger, nagtawag si Magellan ng interpreter upang maintindihan ng hari ang kanyang nais. Nais lamang niyang humingi ng pera upang pampaayos ng kanyang sasakyan. The king responded by giving Magellan the needed provisions of food in Chinaware. Magellan exchanged gifts of rose in Turkish fashion, red cup, and gave the people knives and mirrors. The two expressed their desire to become brothers. Nang malaman ng hari ang kailangan ni Magellan, ibinigay niya ito kabilang ang mga pagkain. Bilang kapalit at pagtanaw ng utang na loob, pinalitan ni Magellan ang kabutihan ng hari sa pamamagitan ng pagbigay ng robes in Turkish fashion, red cap, and kutsilyo at salamin. Dahil dito ay pawang naging magkaibigan o magkapatid ang turingan nila sa isa't isa. The king was fascinated and remarked that men in such armor could be worth in 100 of his men. Magellan further showed the king his other weapons, helmet, and artillery. Magellan also shared with the king his chart and maps and shared how they found his island. Base sa kasuotan ni Magellan na puno ng armor o sandata, ay naisip ng hari na makakatulong ito sa kanyang mga kawal. Dahil dito, ibinahagi ni Magellan ang kanyang mga gamit pangdigma at mga charts o maps kung paano nila nahanap o paano sila nakarating sa isla. After a few days, Magellan was introduced to the king's brother who was also a king of another island. They went into this island and Pigafetta reported that they saw mines of gold. Makalipas ng ilang araw, ipinakilala ng hari ng Balanghay o Balangay si Magellan sa kapatid nitong isa ring hari. Sila ay nagtungo sa isla dahil napag-alaman nilang may tinatagong ginto ang islang ito, ayon kay Pigafetta. The gold was abundant that parts of the ship and of the house of the second king were made of gold. Sinasabing ang bahay ng hari ay gawa sa ginto, maging ang kanyang ship. Pigafetta described this king as the most handsome of all the men that he saw in this place. He was also adorned with silk and gold accessories like a golden dagger, which he carried with him in a wooden polished sheath. Ayon kay Pigafetta, ang haring ito ay ang pinakamakisig na nakita niya sa isla. Si Pigafetta ay manghang-mangha sa palamutin nito sa katawan na yari sa ginto. This king was named by Raya Kalambu, king of Zuluan and Calagar-Butuan and Caragua. And the first king was Raya Shagu. On March 31st, which happened to be Easter Sunday, Magellan ordered the chaplain to preside a mass by ashore. Ang haring tinutukoy ni Pigafetta ay si Haring Raya Kalambu, king of Zuluan and Calagar-Butuan, at ang Caragua, kung saan siya ang unang hari. March 31st, Magellan ordered the chaplain to preside a mass with the shore that happened in Easter Sunday.
After the mass, Magellan ordered the cross be brought with nails and crown in place. Magellan explained that the cross, the nail, and crown were the sign of the emperor, and that he was ordered to plant it in the place he would reach. Pagkatapos ng simba, nagpasya si Magellan na utusan ang kanyang mga tauhan na ang cross, hanamikuko at korona na itatanim nila upang tanda iyon ang emperor ni Magellan. Magellan further explained that the cross will be beneficial for their people because once other Spaniards saw this cross, then they will know that they had been in this land and would not cause their trouble, and any person who might be held captive by them would be released. At yung krus na itinanim nila na inutos ni Magellan, ipiniliwanag niya ito sa kanyang nasasakupan na tanda iyon ng sa kanila ang lupain, at hindi iyon magdudulot ng kaguluhan. The king concurred and allowed for this cross to be planted. This mass would go down in history as the first mass in the Philippines, and the cross would be being Magellan still preserved at present day. At sumang-ayon ang hari sa pinahayag ni Magellan na itanim ang cross na iyon. Ito ay bababa sa kasaysayan dahil sa kamao ng Pilipinas na panatili pa rin sa kasalukuyan. After 7 days, Magellan and his men decided to move and look for a land where they could acquire more supplies and provision. They learned of his island, Ceylon, Leyte, Bohol, and Cebu, and intend to go there. Raya Kalambo offered to pilot them in going to Cebu, the largest and rich of this land. At nagpasya daw si Magellan at ang kanyang tauhan na maghanap ng isla kung saan doon sila makakakuha ng mga supply at provision para sa kadagdagan ng kanilang pangangailangan, at nalaman nila na ang Ceylon, Bohol at Cebu sa pinakamayaman na isla, kaya nagpasya sila na roon magpunta. By April 7th of the same year, Magellan and his men reached the port of Cebu. The king of Cebu, through Magellan interpreter, demanded that they pay tribute as it was customary. But Magellan refused. Magellan said that he was captain of the king himself, and thus would not pay tribute other kings. At sa araw na iyon, ay nakarating sila sa daungan ng Cebu. Sa pamamagitan ng interpreter ng Magellan na humiling na magbigay sila ng pagkakilala bilang kaugalian. Ngunit tumanggi si Magellan at ipinahayag niya na isa siya sa kapitan ng hari. The King of Cebu consulted by this council. By the next day, Magellan men and the King of Cebu, together with other principal men of Cebu, meet an open space. There, the king offered a bit of his blood and demanded that Magellan do the same. At ang hari ng Cebu ay kumonsulta sa kanyang konseho na magpulong sa isang bukas na espasyo. Kasama na rin ang nasasakupan ni Magellan at ang bigay ng konting dugo ang hari ng Cebu.
The following day, Magellan spoke before the people of Cebu, peace and God. Kinabukasan, nagsalita si Magellan bago ang mga tao ng Cebu, kapayapaan at Diyos. Magellan did ask me the people who would succeed the king after his reign, and responded, the eldest child who was happened to be daughter will be next in line. Tinanong na Magellan ng mga tao sa hari pagkat sa ang kanyang paghahari ng mga tao ay tumugon na ang panganay ng batang hari na nagkataong napasama sa mga sumusunod na linya. Magellan responded to be saying that the fate is tell children to render honor and obedience to their parent. Magellan preached about their fate, foreigner, and people were reportedly convenient. Tumugon dito si Magellan na magsabi ang kanyang pananampalataya ay naguutos na mga bata na magbigay ng karangalan at pagsunod sa kanilang mga magulang, na si Magellan ang pinangaral tungkol sa kanilang taga-utos ng pananampalataya at mga tao kung saan naniniwala umano. On the 4th of April, the Vergarant were the king and the principal men of the islands. Magellan spoke the king and impurance him to the god Christian by burning of the idols and worship the cross. Extend the king of Cebu was baptized as a Christian. Noong ika-4 ng Abril, mga tao ay nagtipon kasama ang hari, iba pa sa mga punong lalaki sa isla. Si Magellan ay nagsalita sa hari at hinihimok siyang maging isang mabuting Christian sa pamamagitan ng pagsunod sa lahat ng idolo at pagsama sa krus na pinagsama ang hari ng Cebu noong isang baptist bilang isang Christian. On the 26th of April, Zula, a principal man of the islands, went to see Magellan and asked him for a boat for a means, so that he would be to fight the ship named Lapu-Lapu. Noong ika-26 ng Abril, Zula, isang punong mula sa isla na pinuntahan upang makita si Magellan, nagtanong sa kanya tungkol sa buong lalaki upang siya ay labanan ng punong pangalan ng Lapu-Lapu. Such ship, according to Zula, refused to obey the king and was also preventing him from doing, and Magellan offered 3 boats instead of express. He desired to go Mactan himself to fight and send ship. Ang nasabing pinuno ayon kay Zula ay tumanggi na sundin ang hari at pinigilan din siya na gawin ito, mag-alok ng 3 bangka sa halip at ipahayag na nais niyang pumunta sa Mactan mismo upang labanan ang nasabing pinuno. Magellan first arrived in Mactan in daylight, number 49 in total, and the slender of Mactan were estimated to number 15. The battle began. Dumating ang pwersa ni Magellan ay ang Mactan liwanag ng araw na may bilang na 49 na kabuuan, at ang mga islander ng Mactan ay tinanyang bilang 100. Nagsimula ang labanan.
From the previous reporter, we already tackled all about Magellan. So, again, who is Magellan? On March 16, 1521, he attempting to sail around the world Spain, and his expedition were the first Europeans to reach the Philippines. Magellan died in that battle. So the question here is, what kind of battle? On April 27, at the same year, which is 1521, Magellan died by a poison arrow during a skirmish on the island of Mactan. Magellan was especially targeted because the natives knew that he was the Captain General. Magellan was hit with a lance in the face. So when we say lance, a weapon with a long straight handle and sharp head or blade. Magellan retaliated and pierced the same native with his lance in the breast. When we say pierce, to make hole through, or in Tagalog, ito po yung tumusok or naging sanhi ng sugat. Ganun ho. And tried to draw his sword but could not lift it because of his wounded arm. Seeing that the captain has already deteriorated, when we say deteriorated, a short term for progressively worse, more natives came to attack him. One native with a great sword delivered a blow in Magellan's left leg, brought him face down, and the natives ceaselessly attacked Magellan with lances, swords, and even with their bare hands. When we say ceaselessly, is the other term for continuously and without end, while bare hands means no weapon use, only by hands. The king offered the puny of Mactan gifts of any value and amount in exchange of Magellan's body, but the chief refused. They wanted to keep Magellan's body as a memento of their victory. When we say memento, something that serves to warn or remind about what happened. Then Magellan's men elected Duarte Barbosa as the new captain. So first, who is Duarte Barbosa? Duarte Barbosa was a Portuguese writer and officer from the Portuguese India. Magellan's slave and interpreter named Henry, but Henry betrayed them and told the king of Cebu that they intended to leave as quickly as possible. Pigapita or Antonio Pigapita alleged that the slave told the king that if he followed the slave advice, then the king could acquire the ships and the goods of Magellan's fleet. So first, who is Pigapita? Pigapita is a scholar and explorer, while Magellan's fleet is the other term for ship.
The two conspired and betrayed what was left of Magellan's men. Okay. He also made a blood compact with Magellan as a sign of friendship, according to Pigafetta. It was Sumabon who had requested Magellan to kill his rival, Lapu-Lapu, the dato or chieftain of Nervi Mactan Island. The king invited this men a gathering where he said he would present the jewels that he would send for the king of Spain. He traveled with the Portuguese Ferdinand Magellan and his crew by order of the King Charles I of Spain on their voyage around the world. Pigafetta was not able to join the 24 men who attended because he was nursing his battle wounds. It was only a short time when they heard cries and lamentations. He also said King of Cebu was baptized, could have sent help, but Magellan instructed him not to join the battle and stay in Balangay. The natives had slain all of the men except the interpreter and one Serrano who was already wounded. Serrano was presented and shouted the men in the ship, asking them to pay ransom so he would be spared. However, they refused and would not allow anyone to go to the shore. But no tribute will be paid him, asserts Enrique, and the king, for so eager are the men at the sight of the gold, that they would have given almost. The fleet departed and abandoned Serrano. They left Cebu and continued their journey around the world. Then, the fleet reached South America a little more than 1 month later. There the ships sailed southward, hugging the coast in search of the fabled strait that would allow passage through South America.